I'm very excited to be here today. This is my first time at the STEM Summit, so I will reach that goal of number 2 of meeting new people, because you are all new to me, so I look forward to talking to many of you. I first want to thank you for having me here. It's really exciting, it's a thrill, and one of the things about being here that was so appealing to XPrize is this idea of convening people. That is what we try to do. That is our goal, to bring people together to leverage technology to solve society's grandest challenges. So happy to be here and learn from you all as well. Today I'm going to talk to you a little bit more about the XPrize Foundation, for those of you who may not be familiar with XPrize, and I'm going to be talking specifically about our Global Learning XPrize project that launched 3 years ago and is about to begin its field test in Tanzania next month. So actually the images you see here are all from our dry run and preparation for that test. So these are from our project. So first of all, XPrize, who we are. I have a short video for you to give you some context. But we are a nonprofit organization based in Los Angeles, California. And here's the video.
We're in this interesting time where we don't gravitate to the possible. We don't dream as much. People have to keep that flame burning.
That's what XPrize does. We set very audacious but achievable goals. We leverage them with $1 million or $10 million, and then we go to the world and say, I don't care who you are, where you've gone to school, what you've done before, the first person to make that happen wins. You help bring about a breakthrough, and we all win.
This idea that innovation tethered to a mission, that you can measure, that you can incent people to go forward.
Harnessing the power of imagination to see a positive future and accelerate that future so that it can happen right now.
We're revitalizing and re-energizing the incentive prize competition, which is 300 years old. The Longitude Prize out of the British Admiralty created global navigation. Early aviation prizes of the last century were extraordinary in creating today's $300 billion aviation industry. When we did the Ansari X Prize, our vision was opening up the space frontier.
In the success of that prize, we expanded to other areas: energy and the environment, life sciences, exploration, which is oceans and deep space, education, and global development.
You can't win an X Prize by making something 5% cheaper or 2% faster. The X Prize is about fundamentally enabling something to happen that most people said can't be done.
When you have a prize that's sort of audacious but achievable, it pushes innovation. It pushes people who would never mesh to mesh and collaborate and create new ways.
It's a way to capture people's imagination and get them focused on a topic, and typically some of the best solutions come from people you wouldn't expect.
Innovation is innovation. It really doesn't matter what vertical you're in.
Whether you've had years of experience or education in the area, or you are a garage tinkerer, if you have the idea, you have the opportunity to get it heard and get it out there.
And you don't even have to win the prize to be successful, because you can win the marketplace without having to win the prize.
When you put up a prize, you get 10 to 50-fold the amount of money spent by all of the teams to win your money.
XPrize reminds us that we are inherently explorers. We are inherently inventors. We are inherently discoverers. We are inherently problem solvers.
When you look at Earth from space, the clouds are moving all the time. There's nothing that stays constant. These lines we draw on a map that separates us does not exist. Everything seemed small enough that you felt like, we can fix this. It's not as big as I thought.
I can tell I work at the right place because I still get a little bit misty when I see that, video. Okay, so XPrize at first was known primarily for being a space company. That's often the first thing people know about. But as you saw from the video, and you may know, those of you who have followed XPrize, that we have expanded beyond space and gone into many other areas of the world, and particularly most recently in education. So we had a number of hardware prizes, exploration prizes. The Global Learning XPrize that you see here on the top left was the first time that XPrize ever did a software prize. It was the first time we did something that was in education, and it was the first field test taking place outside of the United States. And that was just 3 years ago in 2014. So there was a lot of firsts for us. But as you see, we have a number of others. The Qualcomm Tricorder XPrize was recently awarded. Google Lunar is nearing its final stages, and an ocean discovery as well. These are just some of our active prizes. Now, how we come up with the idea for getting an XPrize, there's a lot of ways, but one key part is making sure that we have people from all different walks of life. What you see here, Visioneers, this is actually something that is happening in Los Angeles tonight and through the weekend. It's our annual event where we bring together artists, policymakers, academics, all sorts of people to say, what is our perspective on this particular challenge? So we're not just hearing one voice, but how can we look at what the challenges are and how we might solve them? I see we have some of our youngest scientists in the audience here, so I'm very happy to see that we have some kids here today, and that this is for you all, too, to remember that you don't have to reach a certain point in your life to start having ideas and to be active in figuring out how to solve problems in the world. So, in fact, this picture here is from our Progressive Automotive XPrize, and the young people you see here are high school students. So they started as an after-school in West Philadelphia High as an after-school program, and ended up outperforming a number of other competitors and big research places that people might think would have done better, so that here you had kids, teenagers, who were solving problems. We have recently, this is one of our Duke teams that's in the Ocean Discovery XPrize that recently got into the semifinalist round. So we have college students. So those of you who are teachers, professors, people who, parents, please, I would urge you to show these sort of things, tell these stories to your kids, maybe even start an XPrize club or register to compete at some point in terms of I'm hitting all the goals right now, the get involved part. So I would urge you to start an XPrize in your community. Okay, so here's a list of all of our active prizes and ones that we've awarded already. Because of time, I won't go through each of those, but I'm happy to answer any questions any of you have about that. Okay, so the Global Learning XPrize, which I mentioned before, launched in 2014, challenges teams from around the world to develop open source software. And this is going to develop children to teach themselves how to read, write, and do basic math within 15 months. And the idea is these are out-of-school children. That's one of the things that makes it different than other software applications. So our teams were designing specifically for out-of-school children. Our $15 million prize purse was put up by Elon Musk, and we just awarded our 5 $1 million finalists here in New York City about 2 weeks ago at the Social Good Summit on September 17th. So those 5 open source software solutions are the ones that will be going into the field in Tanzania very soon. And then at the end of that field test in early 2019, we will do our end-line testing, and whichever team and software solution has the largest learning gains is going to win an additional $10 million at that point. All 5 solutions will be open sourced, which means we want, expect, and will help to foster people from all over the world getting into this software and making sure that it is localized, different languages, cultural contexts, for wherever there may be children in need of this type of software. So the reason why, because if people looked at earlier XPrizes where you say, okay, we're going into space, we're pushing the edge of science and technology, some people said, okay, well, why are you getting into the world of education? Is this a humanitarian intervention? And on one hand, I would say, yes, there is something that this is about humanity, that one of our grandest challenges right now is the 250 million children, 250 million children who cannot read and write and do basic math. And without those basic skills, they are shut out of a whole world of opportunities. And we as a global community are shut out of the knowledge that those children could have, the ideas that they could grow up to have. And in terms of scalability, I know today is International Teachers Day, so congratulations to all the teachers in the audience. I know I met Pat on the way up. There you are. So of course, I'm a parent. I have 2 young children. I love what teachers can do working with children one-on-one. but not all children have that opportunity. So the UN has estimated that we'd need over 3 million additional teachers trained to be able to start to meet this growing demand. We know that the population, which has doubled in the last generation, we have a very high youth population. So we are saying for those kids who don't have that opportunity, how do they still get educated? Is there technology that can reach children no matter what circumstance they were born into, whether they have access to a quality school or not? This is one of the Sustainable Development Goals the international community has talked about. We believe that there should be inclusive education for all children, equitable education. And we believe that technology is going to be a way to help us meet that goal. And the scale and the urgency is right now. So how we got here, when we launched in December of 2014, or we closed our first registration, we had 700 teams. When we closed our registration, we had nearly 200 teams, 198, who were from 40 countries and 6 continents. So you see that on the map right there. So we really were seeking solutions from people all over the world to make sure we were crowdsourcing this sort of knowledge, and really trying to reach everyone and say, your ideas matter, your voice counts. We want to hear ideas from all over the world. We got down to our 11 semifinalist teams this spring. They all came into the office at XPrize, and that was the first time we in the Global Learning XPrize team got to actually see the technology. So you can imagine for about 3 years we've been talking about this, and everybody says, but what is the technology? What is the thing? And we're like, well, we don't really know. So it was very exciting. This is why it's new for us just this spring to actually see our teams demonstrate for our international panel of judges what the technology was and how they are engaging things, how they're using artificial intelligence. I know we're talking about that later in the summit here. Facial recognition technology, all these things to be able to compete here. And as I mentioned before, our 5 finalist teams were just announced at the Social Good Summit. So there you can see 5 of the team leaders there getting their trophies. And one of our teams actually has a 15-year-old engineer so he's not pictured here. So just to say, there are all sorts of people who are involved in this XPrize. And we're going to try to get another opportunity for you all to demo the technology. It was the first time the public was able to see any of it, was at Social Good Summit. So we're hoping over the next year and a half, while these solutions are being tested in the field, to provide opportunities for people to have interaction with these technologies. Timeline, I'm happy to go into this with everyone, but in effect, just we're about to go into our field test. We will have our winner, we hope, by the beginning of 2019. But that's really the beginning of our work, because the solution isn't when we hand over $10 million to somebody and we say, okay, this works. Great, so it worked for this community in Tanzania. If and when we find out that this technology can work, children can teach themselves. And we're talking about kids who are going from no literacy, that are from communities that often are non-literate communities, to be able to teach themselves how to read, write, and do basic math. If that works, if we can prove that basic supposition, that children are capable of doing this, that the technology is available for this, then it is to be scaled, to get out into the rest of the world. And that's where we're going to need a lot of partnerships, ideas, and this is going to be all of us. This is not XPrize doing it or even our grand prize finalists. This is us as a global community figuring out how to get these solutions to the kids most in need. Already some of our main partners, we could not do this alone. As I mentioned, we are a nonprofit organization. So we had our Pixel C tablets donated by Google. We're working with UNESCO on the ground in Tanzania. You can see them signing the official MOU with the government of Tanzania, their Ministry of Education, the World Food Program to help with logistics on the ground, and RTI International that is working with our data and doing our assessment and evaluation for that. So it really is collaboration that is across borders, that is across disciplines to try to get this project off the ground. So I'm going back to XPrize overall. We redesigned the structure of XPrize, and this is a lot of words, so don't worry about looking into all the fine print there, but feel free to ask me any questions about it. So we redesigned our structure about a year and a half ago when our new CEO, Marcus Shingles, started. We were primarily in column 3 here, which is the competitions. XPrize was about designing and operating large-scale competitions. But now we're saying we want to really make sure we are designing for impact, that we are able to measure and evaluate what this software or hardware, whatever the technological solutions are, can do. We also are making sure we've added in XPrize Institutes to make sure that we are road mapping, talking to people from all different disciplines and fields, and saying, what do you see as the major challenges? What's the research that's already been done? Where is the market stuck? Where do we need an XPrize that's going to have a real dramatic breakthrough in that particular area? So what we are now doing our impact work. Now that we've announced our finalists, we are just launching our impact work right now. For us, we have 3 main buckets of what we're trying to do: accelerate innovation, energize stakeholders, and catalyze markets. And I think I have time to go a little bit into each one of those. So first, in terms of accelerating innovation, we would love to have more than one field test. So our field test in Tanzania is our large 4,000 children, about 200 villages. So it's a large-scale, long-term field test. But we are hoping to have other pilot and field tests. We're working with other areas to have different regions in the world to make sure that it is scalable easily. So multiple field tests. Data evaluation reports, and so some that will go to the general public, and some that are also academic, so that we see that people are engaging and studying. We want to make sure that we have experts who are studying to say what really is the impact when technology comes into these communities. What's the impact on the child herself? What is the impact on her larger community, aspirations for the future? And for that, I should say, we're also doing a separate social and emotional testing. So we have our learning testing that is for the prize, but separately working with our partners, UNESCO, to do some of that testing on the impact on the community. Our second impact goal here is about energizing stakeholders. This is really if nobody adopts it and nobody uses the technology, then we have failed. So it is having people commit to wanting to adopt and use this technology, having high-level advocates so that people know about it. So we want to have whoever is there's many good people working on this problem. Whoever is working on the problem to say, we have a solution. We believe we have a solution that could help. And then finally, in terms of catalyzing the market, we want to make sure that we are developing hardware that is going to be at the price point and for conditions and I know that this term has some, people can sort of discuss about what bottom billion means, but bottom billion conditions that we know now, it's not just about developing countries or many middle-income countries, also the majority of quote-unquote bottom billion learners are in middle-income countries. So how do we make sure that they're getting into rural areas, urban areas, all different climates, and that it's something that people can afford? And finally, making sure that we are further developing the software. So we want to support our software engineers, our storytellers, all sorts of people who are going to go into localizing and adapting the software. So for ways to get involved, support our teams, or as I said in the beginning, become a team. Teams can range anything from one single individual signing up to groups of people. Raising awareness about what our teams are doing. Many of them, I think they all have Twitter handles. They post regularly. There are videos from them. Find out what they're doing, what lessons they're learning, interact with our teams. If they're anywhere near you regionally, have them come talk to your students or your colleagues. If you have key stakeholders who you think we should talk to, that would be really great. Let us know if there's people you know that we should be talking to. And then also, there is legislation as well about learning in developing countries. So the READ Act, R-E-A-D Act, is something that Congress, actually both sides of the aisle are agreeing upon. That is about how do we get scalable learning solutions into developing countries. So if you're interested in that, write to your representatives. And as a final note, this is one of my favorite pictures from our field testing and our this wasn't one of the sort of main ones that would maybe go onto a page, but what I loved about this, there's a number of things, in addition to, of course, the kids using the software that you see highlighted. I love seeing there's a mom who's looking over one of the kids' shoulders, and then if you see on the far left of this corner, there's a mom with a baby that is strapped to her and she's holding a tablet. And there's something that just really struck me about that, about what sort of transformation this can mean for that child if his or her mother is able to have access to literacy and learning, if that child grows up in a community that is literate and connected, and that these children, as well as all of us in this room, your students, your colleagues, have the opportunity to build the future. We're in desperate need of new ideas, of people who are working to find these solutions. So there was something just so hopeful to me about this particular image.